Hey, hi. All right, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share this by email to the out to ADHD. Cool. And I'm also gonna share it on Patreon. 1 second. I'm gonna email this to myself so that I can put it on Patreon. Jessica at How to ADHD. Sweet. Okay. Now I'm gonna put it on Patreon. Hello. Oh, cool. I got an email from myself. There's probably a better way to do this, but for right now, we're going with it. HQV. Oh, I shouldn't say my password out loud. Cool. On a live stream. Hi. People are here. Did you guys hear me go, oh, I shouldn't say my password out loud on a live stream. I always say my passwords out loud. Okay. Let me go ahead and grab this. That's the link to the live stream, which Gmail is warning me about. Okay. Let's write a post. Yo, yo, yo. Hi, guys. Hello. Lots of familiar faces. Malin, Eric, Mike, Charles. Robo is here. Hey, guys. Cool. All right, hang on. You guys get to watch me try to technical live. Nope, that's not where that goes. All right. Here we go. October live stream. Oops, not Icetober. October live stream. Okay, patrons only. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. I'm not even saying anything. I'm just like, October live stream. Here's the link. Okay, cool. Password 1234. Yeah, that's totally it. I'm actually learning to do things lately, like lock my doors. For a long time, I didn't lock my doors because I was like, look, the only people this is keeping out is me. It's just keeping me out. If anybody really wants to rob my house, like they'll be able to find a way. But if I forget my keys, I'm just gonna be like, all right, trying to like find a way into my house for an hour before I finally call a locksmith. So I lock them now. I just didn't for a while. Electronic lock, that's actually a good idea. When I was in Bratislava, Slovakia, there was this, one of the speakers does chip technology. And he said it was because he has ADHD and is untreated. And he was tired of locking himself out of his house. And so he actually got into that field because he wanted to make his life easier. So he just lets himself into his house with his hand, just like holds it up and gets in. Yeah, basically leave. Hello! Oh my gosh, so many people. Hi! Robo's giving away his friends' codes so he doesn't forget the code, yeah. Hi, everybody. Does this look okay? Does this sound okay? It's just on my iPad because then there are fewer technical difficulties. Oh, Charles wants to know what happened to lockpick Jessica. Oh, yeah, that never happened. I still need to learn how to pick locks from that one time that I got locked in a parking lot. Ducky says, I like your shirt. Thank you. We are in the dungeon. You guys want to see? Ooh, this is a basement. I'm in a basement. And it's not a finished basement, and it's also not a waterproof basement. So sometimes the basement floods, and the equipment, I have to be careful. Well, it doesn't flood. It puddles. It puddles my set, which is to say, like, there's a puddle in the entire basement. And one time I had to, like, spend an hour mopping it up. Robo got a nice lock-picking set. ADHD Fungin. No, I haven't touched it in 2 months. Welcome, Gary. Just call me Gary. Yeah, puddling is, it is scary. How to ADHD survivalist preparations. It is really like dark and scary down here, actually. I'm like all super perky and like not sure that something's not going to come out of the cobblestone wall and kill me. Yeah, they should do that. Spray a thick seal around the whole basement to prevent the leakage and puddling. The owners of the house have tried to fix it a few times. Uh, the oh, the thing about wait, hang on, my friend got my address wrong, and I have to correct him. Okay, now I'm turning my phone off. Halloween live stream. Ooh, I don't know what to be for Halloween, guys. If anybody has any ideas, like I'm creatively tapped out. I've made a talk and I did a workshop and I did a kids show and I did an adult show and I'm making episodes and like my creativity is all tapped out right now. I need Madeline. Be Chloe. Spooky, scary skeletons send shivers down your spine. Robo says I can bring my set to chat. Oh, the lockpicking set? Yes. And we'll do a behind the brains live stream, or not live stream. We'll do a behind the brains thing of me trying to learn how to use a lockpick. Oh, Costco has massive stuffed bears. Dress up as Chloe and have Chloe dress up as you. That sounds expensive. No, what's the spooky, scary skeleton song? Somebody link it if you're allowed to. Or yeah, somebody send it to me. Okay, so what's going on? Announcements real quick and then we'll just hang out. I I took a risk with the last video with Rick Green because it was obviously a sketch. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but I mean, we were not going to ask and answer 20 legit questions in like a 5-minute video, which some people picked up on. But Rick Green and I did this whole video about, 20 big questions about ADHD, and we didn't answer a single question about ADHD. And some people loved it, and some people were like, this is garbage, I'm unsubscribing. So they won't get to see the follow-up to it, which is when I went up to Canada for a conference in Toronto last week. Rick Green and I actually did sit down and answer the final questions we had asked each other. Okay, that's the one. Cool. I'll watch it later. Rick Green and I actually did sit down and answer those questions and a bunch more that people on Discord or Patreon sent or that were sent on the main channel. So Ducky was there. It was 5 minutes per question. Yeah, there was one question where they're like, how do you know when to stop? Like when to stop working? And Rick Green and I kept taking turns answering that question. And finally I was like, okay, so clearly we don't know how to stop because we keep going on this question. So we can't answer this. Then moving on. Ducky was in the room for most of this. It went on for like an hour and a half. So we'll probably do a version for Patreon that's like the super rough cut so you guys can see us answer all the questions, but then we'll do a really tight version for the channel. But what was really cool is at the conference in Toronto for CADAC, their ADHD Speaks thing, I did a workshop. It was my first time doing a workshop, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified. And it actually went really well. Like, there was a minute there where everybody was kind of like wanting to talk because it was a workshop. I was asking people to participate. And so like, I was like 3 sentences into the workshop and it felt like the conversation that started happening could have lasted the entire time. So I had to get us back on track, which is to be expected. But for the most part, like once I got control back over my classroom, it was really good. People had really interesting discussions that they brought up. And I shared enough that one woman looked at me and said, and held up the packet and said, I think what is in this will save my marriage. And I was just like, oh. And it was just, yeah. Oh, yeah, I did. I did something super culturally insensitive toward the end. Like one of the things that I was talking about when we talk about our ADHD challenges is not to say sorry, because sorry is something that we should say if we did something wrong, if we're not going to do it again. If it was something that we had control over or was intentional or whatever. And while we do have control to a certain extent over, the efforts we make to overcome our challenges, we don't have control over those challenges existing. And so I think that apologizing for things that we regularly struggle with is counterproductive. So so I suggested, because I got this from a webcomic that I really liked and I did a whole episode about it, saying thank you instead of I'm sorry. Instead of, I'm sorry I'm late, thank you for waiting. Or one of the brains suggested, if you get a second email, like if you forget to respond to an email and you get another email, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm sorry I didn't respond, say, thank you for following up. Because then you get to maintain your integrity. You get to feel like it's okay to have the struggles. Yeah, sorry for being me, right? So we don't have to apologize for being who we are. We don't have to apologize for the struggles that we have. But if it is inconveniencing somebody, it is appropriate to thank them for being patient or thank them for going out of their way. And then we both get to feel good. We don't have to feel diminished or like we're some terrible subhuman for struggling with these things, because it's not our fault. And they get to feel appreciated for the extra trouble they have to go to send that extra email, or, the fact that they had to wait, 15 minutes for us to get there or whatever. Everybody's like, yeah, this explains the stop apologizing emails. Yeah, I mean, it's okay if we feel bad for inconveniencing people. I think it's just, it tends to go better if we thank people and recognize their efforts rather than apologize. Because if we apologize, like, every time we're late to, have lunch with a friend or something, eventually it's going to seem like we're not really sorry or we don't really care, because we keep apologizing but then not doing anything about it. So, yeah, just all around, there are definitely situations where an apology is appropriate, but I try to be really careful not to apologize for having the challenges I have. I can apologize for not managing them better, I guess, but I don't want to apologize for having that struggle. Yeah. And then what happened was everybody was like nodding and like really into it. And then this one guy raised his hand and he goes, "But we're Canadian." And I was just like, oh God. And somebody's like, yes, this is socially inconsiderate or something like that, or insensitive. Oh, culturally insensitive. And I was like, you're right. This is culturally insensitive. Thank you for pointing that out to me instead of apologizing, because it's not my fault that I said that. Like, it was not something that occurred to me. Thank you. I'm Canadian. Yeah. So Ducky explained it to me really well, though. She said the difference is in Canada, there's this cultural apologeticness, but it's not accepting responsibility. It's like, I'm sorry that you're struggling with this, or I'm sorry that this was an inconvenience, without saying, oh, it's all my fault. Whereas in the States, if you're apologizing, you're feeling, at least internally, like, oh, it's me, it's my fault, I feel bad, I did something wrong. Whereas in Canada, I guess you can be like, oh, I'm sorry for how that affected you, or I'm sorry for how you felt, without it being about you. Yeah, as empathy. That's interesting. So yeah, there were things like that. There were a couple other things that I talked about in the workshop that I thought were really important, which is, one, I think there are times when it's not safe to talk about your ADHD. If you just, if you just got a new job and your boss has this impression, or complains about employees with ADHD or whatever, like, and you're in a position where you can't afford to get fired, and like technically they can't fire you for having ADHD, but they could find other reasons for it. So if you're in an insecure position, then okay, like maybe if you're bringing up your challenges to your boss, you're like, hey, I work best if I can wear headphones, or, I need tasks broken down a little bit more than just like this big project is due on this date or whatever, but we don't have to mention our ADHD. But I think it's really important that if we're in a secure position, if we can educate people about our ADHD, that we do, because that might support somebody else later on down the road who isn't in that position. If you're in a position where you're the head of a department and you're good, talk about your ADHD, talk to your boss and be like, hey, I'm doing okay, but I think I could do better if. I think some accommodations would be useful for me. Or a couple of people brought up in the workshop that they were like, hey, I'm getting slowed down by all this paperwork. If you hire somebody to help me with the paperwork, I can triple my sales productivity or whatever. The comic? No, I didn't. If you can link it. If not, maybe put it in the brain board on Discord. But yeah, just thinking outside the box and thinking in terms of like what's going to benefit my employer and me. Like, most accommodations are cheap or free, and I think that it's super important to talk about it and ask for those accommodations when necessary, because it normalizes it. And a lot of times the accommodations that we ask for are helpful for everybody. So like I talked about when I was waiting tables, I had a really hard time with paperwork at the end of the night. Like I was great for while I'm waiting tables, you know, there's always something to do and I don't have to sit down. And anytime somebody tells me something, I get to write it down so I won't forget it. And this is all like, it just really worked for my brain. Everything's urgent. I can't procrastinate. I don't take any work home with me. It was great. But at the end of the night, there was this giant stack of paperwork and it was a mess because my organization skills are just terrible. Like I have to be very diligent about organization or it explodes. No, I didn't see your new LinkedIn article. Yeah, everybody's sharing stuff. Like put it in the boardroom on Discord. Yeah, put it in the boardroom on Discord and I'll check it out after. But yeah, it was so hard for me at the end of the night. And I started thinking about why it was so difficult for me. And it's like, first of all, organization is hard for me. Second of all, it's the end of the night. I'm exhausted. It's like 1 a.m. at this point. My meds have worn off a long time ago. And nothing is stapled together because I didn't have time during my shift to go all the way to the back of the restaurant to the one stapler. And so I asked my employer if we could have a stapler at every station so that I could staple my paperwork together as I went. And then at the end of the night, it would be organized already, so it would be a lot easier on me. Felicia, organizing stuff. It's so bad. One of the workshops that I went to at the CADAC conference was on executive function skills, and there was a brief rating scale that you could do to see which executive functions of yours are stronger and which are weaker. My weakest is response inhibition. I'm sure Izza's going to be shocked at that one. Superbrain's like, yeah, I know. But that works in my favor a lot of the time because it's like I impulsively started a YouTube channel. I impulsively respond to comments. I impulsively do a lot. Do I have the worksheet still? Oh yeah, I could post the worksheet for you guys. I don't know how much sense it'll make without the rest of the thing, but oh yeah. So I went up to the mic and I was like, I don't know how to translate like this challenge that I have with response inhibition into like what's like an accommodation or like a scaffolding or strategy that I can use for it. Because the whole workshop was about figure out what your weakest executive function skills are and then figure out like a system or some sort of external to you scaffolding to support you in that. So I went up and I was like, okay, but I don't know like what is the challenge I should tackle. Because like she's like, well, the response inhibition. And I was like, well, what I just told you, like I impulsively started a YouTube channel. I impulsively started this Discord and like, it's, sometimes stressful for the people around me, but for the most part, my impulsivity has been good. It's been useful in my life. And she was like, so it sounds like you've found a way to make it work for you. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, so and I was like, well, I scored a 3, which is the lowest you could score. It's like I scored a 3 and now I'm really concerned about how it's affecting my life. And I just maybe don't realize it. And she's like, well, how it affects me in my life is, I have trouble with finances. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that, like definitely that. I can't have credit cards. Like I have learned this about myself. Every time I try to use a credit card, it does no. I'm not allowed to have credit cards. I just am not. Like I don't get to spend money I don't have. I cannot be trusted with a credit card. Daily budget app for the win. Yeah, I should do that. But even that, I'll be like, oh, as long as I only spend this today, like I'm fine. And then like I see something and I'm like, well, I have a credit card, and just goes right out the window. Yeah, at one point this guy went up to us though and he was like, oh no, yeah, credit cards are great and this and that. And I was like, yeah, I can't have them. And he was like, oh, but if you just manage your money well and you just do this and this and if you just do this and this and this, then it's fine. And I'm like, that's nice for you. I have learned that I can't have a credit card. It is not a good idea for me. Yeah. Yeah, if you just don't have ADHD, you can have a credit card and it'll be fine. There are just things that I just have to accept. Just not having strategies to deal with it is just better for me. Yeah, you should just, or if you just, yeah, if I could just, I would have done it because I tried a bunch of times. But yeah, that was the worst executive function for me that I learned is response inhibition. But the second worst was, which by the way is also, I mean, it basically means I'm super impulsive, But Dr. Hallowell says that creativity is just impulsivity gone right. For you to be creative, you almost have to be a certain degree of impulsive for you to create effectively, because you have to be able to like impulsively put put something down on paper, even though there are all these thoughts in your brain telling you you're not good enough. Chloe is fighting off an axe murderer upstairs. Yeah, that's Chloe. She's playing with another dog right now. They're having fun. I tried giving them bones so they'd be quiet. It's not working. But I found out the second worst executive function for me is organization. That's bringing it all around. Organization. My organization skills are pretty terrible. I was very proud to find out that one of my strongest now is actually planning and prioritizing. That was not true before. I think that's because like most of my videos are about planning and prioritizing. I'm just like, how do I figure out what to do and then do the thing and like keep to my goals? That, and then like pretty much everybody at the table's like top executive function according to this scale was stress tolerance, which makes sense. We've got a lot of practice with that. Planning, prioritizing, are you speaking another language? Yeah, I thought that I wasn't good at it, but apparently I'm getting better at it. And one of the tricks that I have for that is something that our research consultant, Patrick LeCount, who studies ADHD and works with people with ADHD fairly exclusively, he suggested something that I still use all the time, which is when you're overwhelmed, pick 3 things you're going to get done that day. 3. And make sure that those are the 3, like choose the 3 things that as long as you get those things done by the end of the day, you will consider that day a success. Yeah, Patrick LeCount, our research consultant, is now a doctor. So he is Dr. LeCount. Yeah, this channel's moving on up. And Ducky's going to be a nurse soon. Yeah, 3 things. And then I heard somebody else say this. I don't remember if it was Robo. It might have been Robo. Somebody else suggested this. So figure out the 3 things you're going to do today, the 3 things you're going to do this week, and the 3 things you're going to do this month. I don't remember who said this, but I like it a lot. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Robo stars the 3 things on the list. A lot of times I'll put the 3 things on the left side of the page and then like all the other stuff that I want to get done on the right. But like the 3 things on the left are like, those are the things I have to hit. Yeah. Robo has very pretty handwriting. So what else is going on? Yeah, we did a live kids show. We did I played the fish song, and we did a live adult show. Yeah, with Rick Green, where we talked about the top ADHD myths that have affected us, and it went really well. It was really fun. It was completely unrehearsed, and we decided to the next day film those. So those are actually going to go up on his site on totallyADD.com. Is Rick Green and I talking about the biggest ADHD myths that have affected us, and then we've got an episode coming out with him talking about or answering questions as well. Fish song. I wish these stayed up longer. Like I see everybody's messages, but Michael says I wish I could take meds. Yeah. Sing the fish song now. So funny story. I almost forgot my ukulele on the way to Kadak. Like I saw it on top of my fireplace because I had started using it as decoration. I have like a tiny ukulele and then my normal ukulele, and I had them like on my mantle as decoration. And I saw it on the way out the door and I was like, I'm going to need that if I'm going to play the fish song. So I brought it, but like I didn't have time to find the case because I was like, my lift was already coming. I was already on my way out the door. So I looked around and I grabbed my tennis racket case and I stuck it in there. I'm not used to carrying around my tennis racket case. Pretty sure I left it on the plane. So yeah, I got home and this was fantastic. I got home and I was exhausted. I was so tired, you guys, because I did Kadak, like I did the 3 events in one day. And then the next day, Rick Green and I shot like a bunch of videos. And then the next day I took a tour of MHS, which is where they do the Connors rating scales, which I'll talk about in a second. And I got home and I, dragged my suitcase up onto the porch and I went around and I came in, I went to sleep. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, I'm going to go to yoga. And I went to find my yoga pants in my suitcase and I couldn't find my suitcase. And I went out on the porch and it was still on the porch. So that was fun. So yeah, that's the other thing going on is I went to tour MHS, which again is where they do the Connor rating scales for ADHD. I don't know if any of you guys participated, but a couple of times I've put something on Facebook like, hey, if you guys want $50 and you want to support the channel too, like they'll make a donation to me. They'll give you money to fill out this rating scale and to improve the rating scales for people with ADHD, which is great, right? We want more accurate diagnoses. So I went there and they were like, hey, while you're here, do you want to film a bunch of stuff? And I was like, I'm dying. Maybe another day. But we ended up filming a bunch of stuff anyway. So I'll end up going back. So if anybody has any questions about that, probably put those in the brainboard thing and I'll ask them while I'm there. It's really interesting. I got to talk to the data scientists and the research scientists. And so like I talked to the people who crunch the data and figure out like draw meaning from all these surveys. Oh yeah, Ducky sent me pictures. I can send you guys some pictures too in there. Yeah, impulse control, response inhibition. I sort of controlled my response inhibition because at first I was like, Ducky was sitting right next to me. At first I was like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, we don't really have time. I have to be at the airport in a few hours. And I didn't say this, but like also I'm freaking exhausted. I was so glad to be done with work and get to just enjoy being shown around this office and have lunch with somebody. And they were like, we've got a whole plan. And they had a whole folder with scenes. They're like, this is the scene and this is what she'll ask. And I was just like, oh God, this is so much. I can't right now. So yeah, don't just buy the first couch you see. Not that I haven't done that. Here's the thing. Poor impulse control does make for like effective decision making. Well, it doesn't take a lot of time to make decisions. So, you can move a little more quickly in the world, I think, if you have poor impulse control. But then sometimes it slows you down because you have to fix the mistakes from all the impulsive decisions you made. Aw, I'm really good at impulse control as far as purchases, not love. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, there is that too. Yeah, I end up overthinking. Yeah, I tend to get caught up in indecision that stops impulses. Yeah, so it was really interesting going through the executive function scale. And I'm like, I talked to the people at MHS too, and I'm really convinced it's important that we put more emphasis on the executive function skills and recognizing what those are. Because as the people at MHS put it, you can't take action on symptoms. Like you can take medication if that works for you, but you can't be like, I'm going to work on, not being ADHD because you're going to be ADHD. Like the symptoms aren't going to change really. They're not going to go away. They're going to be managed maybe, but they're not going to go away. But executive function skills you can build up and you can create scaffolding for to support you. And so if we don't know where we're weak in terms of executive function, then we're just kind of like, I don't know, throwing darts at, I don't know what this metaphor is. We're just flying blind a little bit, I guess, because we're like, I don't know, I'm bad at stuff and like I should do something about that. And we're trying to constantly find strategies, but we don't necessarily know what it is that's actually getting in our way. And so I asked the people at MHS, I was like, do you have an executive function scale that's like scientifically validated? And they were like, why, yes, we do. So they're going to send it to me. And I was like, can I share this with my community? And they were like, they wouldn't know how to interpret it is the problem. So that's unfortunate. But it is something that I'm going to look into maybe doing an episode about on the channel is like, okay, what are executive functions that are impacted by ADHD and how do you find out which ones you're impacted by? Like, who do you go to figure that out? Because I think that's important, right? It was helpful for me to know that response inhibition is my big issue because it is. And I hadn't really thought of it that way before. Good episode idea. Yay. We can share it again. Yeah, the slides and stuff. Yeah, so it wasn't a super in-depth survey, but it was good to get like a general idea of where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are, I think. Oh, and I actually am really good at task initiation, which can be a challenge for a lot of people with ADHD, but I'm pretty good at it. Which, again, I think the impulsivity helps me with. It's not that hard for me to get started on work. What kills me is when people think we have it all together, and I don't. Do people think you have it all together? I don't know if I've ever been accused of that. People ask about a video on executive function somewhat frequently. Yeah, here's the reason I haven't done it yet, because it is a huge thing, is I can't find any consistency. Like, everybody's got their different models of executive function, and nobody's really clear on, are we talking about executive function as a whole? Are there separate executive functions? What is considered an executive function, which are impaired by ADHD? I tend to try and present information that there's a consensus on, but there's not really a consensus on this yet. It's kind of new that they're really focusing on this. So I figured I would go with what MHS is going with, like whatever scale they're using, I could maybe present the executive functions that way. And yeah, let's do the 2-hour lecture in one video. I thought it was a good idea. By the way, that is what I do in my videos. Like, if you guys aren't aware, like, I take 2 hours of information and I'm like, let's do the Cliff Notes version. Here's 6 minutes. Yeah, breaking down, cool. You're interested in the breaking down of executive function? Yeah. So I think what I do, because that's why I didn't want to do it before, was like, it's so confusing and everybody's got their different models. What I can do is just say, hey, in the video, this isn't defined yet, really. It needs more research. We need to understand it better, but this is what we know now, and I'm going to use this person's model because that's what MHS uses, and they do a lot of good work. So we're going to talk about executive functions, and I'm actually going to get to talk to the researchers that work on their executive function scale. And we'll talk about it and like what is this, and one of the things they told me is that executive functions are very interrelated. You can't really separate it and be like, okay, I have this problem with working memory, which is separate from my problem with this, which is separate from my problem with that, because they all play together, right? So if I had, if I had trouble with task initiation and response inhibition, that might look more like, instead of starting a task, like I impulsively play video games or whatever, but that's not my issue. My issue is more like, I might like impulsively buy a video game, but I'm not gonna, but because I'm pretty good at task initiation, it's not gonna keep me from doing what I need to do. I'm gonna read your messages for a second. I have time dysphoria. What's time dysphoria? Like you're uncomfortable with time? That's a term I hadn't heard before. Like time blindness? Yeah, we can be really good at an executive function in one area of life, but rubbish at it in another. Yeah. Roba's like, I may be a workaholic. Same. Like you can't tell the difference between 5 minutes and an hour. Well, yeah, there's time blindness, which is Dr. Russell Barkley's term. But actually, you said time dysphoria. Dysphoria is like a discomfort, right? Right? Stopping once I've initiated tasks. Yeah, I have more trouble stopping than I do starting. I hate time is passing. Okay. Like I hate time. Okay, so this is interesting too. In some of the research that I've read, ADHDers are strongly averse to things that feel like they take a long time. Like it's almost painful to us to sit through things that are long and tedious and boring. Our brains are just wired that way. And so we have a preference for things that make time pass quickly. I was better with time management before I started taking meds and had kids. Do you know which one of those contributed? Because I mean, I imagine having kids would make time management more difficult, but taking meds usually wouldn't make that more difficult, but maybe it did for you. Yeah. Live streams. Kids, time management. Yeah. I'm so nervous. Like, if I ever have kids, I'm going to be like, I don't even know. I feel like I need to get my ADHD to a better place before I'm ready for that. Oh, meds can make it bad because you still have to manage your focus. Yeah. No kids for me. I can't handle it. Yeah. I respect that, Felicia. I seriously respect that. I have two. It's amazing, but I'm winging it. And I have great kids. Yeah. I talked to Eric Tivers and he was like, don't have kids. Basically, like, he didn't say it that way, but it's difficult. It's difficult when you have ADHD and you have kids who also have special challenges. His kid's autistic, which is extra challenging. Teach them all your coping mechanisms. I'm sure they'll turn out great. Here's the thing. I actually thought about it and I realized that, okay, so kids of anybody who has, hit a certain level of accomplishment or acclaim or whatever in life, like, already have it kind of bad because they're expected to do, everybody wants to do as well or better than their parents. And so if my kid's like, my mom has a successful YouTube channel, like I have to have a successful YouTube channel or do something else impressive or whatever. So I feel bad because like there'll be that pressure on my kid. Like I like that my mom was a teacher, my dad was a firefighter. And so like as long as I went out and had a good job, like I'd be fine. But there's extra pressure on both the kid and me if I have kids because I know all these coping strategies and I understand ADHD so well. So if I have a kid with ADHD and they turn out to not have good coping skills, like I think we're both going to feel like, ugh. I just need some cats. Do you not have cats, Felicia? Oh, Zoe, that's so good. You can just remind your kid how long it took you to even start feeling like you figured yourself out. That's really nice. Yeah. And I like that I'm talking about my kids. Like I'm nowhere near this, but I think about it sometimes. The idea that it's like, oh, I figured stuff out for me, but it's up to you to figure stuff out for you. And, hopefully you figure it out a little sooner than I did, but if not, one of the things in the executive function skills workshop too, they were saying, and I knew this, like executive function skills don't really finish developing for even neurotypical people until you're like 25. And for ADHDers, it's not till you're like 30 that those finish developing. And she was careful to like say, and by finish developing, it doesn't mean like, now you're good. It means like that's as much as it's probably gonna develop. I have 7 years. Yeah, Ducky's got time. I'm 7 years late. I'm 6 years late. 30, I'm still waiting at 54. Yeah, again, it's not like we've got the same level of executive function as people who are neurotypical. That is not the case, but I did notice a difference for myself. Like from 25 to 30, like I feel like in my 30s I started being able to actually do things like learn from my mistakes and have some level of impulse control. My boss has a kid with ADHD and I recommended your channel to him. Thank you. Ducky's like, it stopped developing. Doesn't mean it developed right. Is there a pill for that? Unfortunately, no, as I learned. I think that's why like my life changed so much when I started understanding my brain because I was given medication and the medication was so effective, but it did not help my executive function really. Like, I mean, some of it, I guess, while I'm on it, some stuff works better, but Eric says I started getting better coping mechanisms. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. That was the problem for me is all I had was medication. That was my only tool. And so when I forgot to make an appointment or my pharmacy was out of meds, like if I ended up without meds or like I lost my health insurance or whatever, I had no coping skills. Nothing. Because I just used, oh, that's interesting. Physical touch. I leaned on my medication so hard because it was my only coping skill that when I didn't have it, I felt useless. I felt like I couldn't accomplish anything without my medication. Pills don't teach skills, but they sure are useful to make changes. Yep. Therapy is amazing. well, Butrin also helps a bit with the mood. Aw. Yeah. But this is why, like, I push so hard for, medication. Like, in my experience with it is that it was incredibly helpful. At the same time, yeah, pills don't teach skills. Like, I still needed to learn how to cope, you know? Yeah, some doctors don't make sure you're getting the other skills from someone to go along with the prescription. Yeah, I didn't for 20 years. For 20 years, I was on and off medication, and nobody was like, you have executive function challenges. You should get, you should have an ADHD coach, or you should go to a therapist who understands ADHD and work on this. Nobody suggested that. That's one of the things I'm trying to change. Go to a doctor, Ducky says. Yeah, my psych is that way. How are the pills? Okay, here's your script. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. ADHD and media part. Oh yeah, I'll tell that story too. Wait, what just happened? Oh yeah, got a bottle of pills, told to call if I asked questions. Yeah, every time I went to a psychiatrist, they were like, is the medication working? Yeah, it's amazing. I can focus. Do you have any side effects? No, mild appetite suppression. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm an actress in LA. I'm kind of cool with the appetite suppression thing. Fine with that. And they were like, okay, here's your prescription. Like, nobody ever asked if my life was going fine. I would have been like, no, not at all. Like, I just got divorced, and, I'm living at home with my mom, and I'm underemployed, and, like, I can't do the things that I need to do to get ahead in my acting career. And no, my life is not going well. Thanks for asking. That never happened, though. There are psych therapist combos you can go to. Yes. So right now, I'm so excited about this. I have a therapist who referred me to somebody to get my prescription from, to get my medication from, and they work together. And so I signed a release saying he could talk to her, she could talk to him, and I'm like, this is fantastic. Why doesn't this always happen? Okay. So Robo said to tell the story from the workshop. Yeah. All right. So one of the things I was talking about in the workshop is how this stigma exists. And stigma is especially bad for ADHD because there's stigma around the condition itself. ADHD is treated like a joke in media. There's stigma around the challenges that are associated with it. Like, we're considered lazy or irresponsible or messy, or just all these character defecty things that are associated with our challenges. Nobody, like, if somebody's has diabetes and their blood sugar is low, nobody, like, tells them they're lazy for not controlling their blood sugar. But if we don't have self-control, like, then that's our fault. And then there's also stigma around the treatment of it. So parents are shamed for giving their kids medication until they're drugging their children. I even after I started the channel and learned all this stuff and the ways ADHD affected me, I was like, I still felt like I should be able to do it without the meds. But I was talking about all the stigma, and I was like, yeah, ADHD itself is stigmatized. It's treated like a joke. Can anybody think of, like, a single media representation of ADHD that's accurate, that isn't stigmatized, that isn't a caricature or a stereotype? Can anybody think of, like, any accurate representation of ADHD in media? And somebody's like, yeah, your channel. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect that answer. Like, I forget that I count as media. I know this YouTube channel. Yeah, didn't occur to me. I'm like, that's so terrible that there's no accurate representation of ADHD in any media. And I'm like, oh, I'm changing that. Cool. Aw, Randall says, I don't want to tell my parents I got diagnosed because of the stigma. Yeah? Leaf Caliber. I would say Annie from Community, but even she's a bit stereotyped. Do they actually say that she has ADHD in the show? Because I will tell you, I think the best representation of ADHD in media out there, they don't mention that he has ADHD, which is why it doesn't quite count to me, but it's clear he has ADHD. Yeah, they do mention it. That's cool. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Jake from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is such a great representation of ADHD in media because he's disorganized and messy and his credit is terrible and he's got, like, a bathtub full of unopened mail. But he's also brilliant. He's, like, the best detective on the force, and everybody loves and accepts him, even though he's ridiculous. And he also makes everything fun. So, like, the captain's out of the office, and he's like, all right, we're going to play games, and he just, it's fantastic. He does he does a really good job of representing both the positives and the challenges of ADHD, you know. Troy and Community. Yeah. And Lexa pointed out that there's also some pretty good representation of autism in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well. Yeah. Oh, so going back to the stigma thing, if anybody's interested in how, because I had to do research for the workshop, because that's what I do, how to actually break stigma, there are anti-stigma programs out there that have not been effective, like educating people on mental health, you know, and like the general population, educating them on how, you know, it's a brain-based condition and it's genetic and, you know, all of that actually isn't really effective in reducing stigma. What is something called contact education. So somebody with ADHD talking to communities about what they struggle with, or somebody with depression, or somebody with whatever they're struggling with, talking about their experience. And so the more I think we talk about our experience, the less stigmatized it's going to be. And specifically, positive interactions. So if we only talk about our ADHD when somebody's upset with us and we're like, sorry, I messed up, I have ADHD, like that's not going to actually help. But if when things are in a good place and like, I don't know, we just impress somebody with our creativity, we're like, yeah, you know, I have ADHD, and one of the things that comes with that is divergent thinking, you know, that outside the box thinking, I'm creative, whatever. Or even just like sitting down with your boss before anything's wrong and being like, hey, just so you know, I have ADHD, which means I'm affected by it this, and this way. I want to be the best employee for you I can. Like, let's figure out some strategies. Let's figure out accommodations, whatever. Having a positive interaction with somebody talking about their mental health condition breaks down stigma. And it doesn't only break down stigma for them, but it breaks down stigma for us. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, the less stigma and shame we will feel. But contact is so hard. Yeah, I know. So, but that's where I come to, like, do it to the point where you feel safe, or like maybe slightly outside your comfort zone. But the more those of us who are in a strong position or comfortable talking about it, talk about it, the easier it will be for people who are a little more shy, or a little less comfortable, or in a little bit less secure of a position to be talking about it. So I'm really big on this like anti-stigma kick right now. I'm just like, I'm tired of being ashamed of it. Like I've got somebody staying with me right now, and like he pointed out that I left all the cupboards open, or a bunch of cupboards in the kitchen open, and like there were some dishes or whatever. And he like started doing this thing where he would tease me about like how messy I made things, and say like, oh yeah, I came in and I thought, you know, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a bomb went off or whatever. Like he'll make these little jabs, and it used to make me feel bad, right? It genuinely did. And this time, like, I started to feel bad about it, but then I thought about it and I'm like, no, I have these challenges. This is me trying. Because that's what I told him. I was like, you know, this is just how my brain works. And he was like, yeah, but like, you know, don't use an excuse or whatever. I was like, I understand that. This is actually me making an effort. This is me trying. This is not me using it as an excuse. I'm explaining to you that this is how my brain works. I don't even notice that there are all these cupboards open. But I am making an effort, and this is me trying. And I told Ari Tuckman that the other day. We recorded an interview together, and he was like, I really like that. I'm going to use that, because I think it's important, because there are times when it looks like we're not trying, but we are. And I think as long as we're honest about that, it's okay to be like, you know what? I'm proud of this level of mess. Like, this is good for me. This is really good for me. And I'm not going to let you take that away from me, because it's not up to your standards. Leave. I have more OCD like ADHD. I'd follow you around cleaning up after you. Yeah. So, yeah, own your victories. Yeah, I'm just at that point where I'm like, ADHD is my responsibility. It is not my fault. I am no longer going to feel ashamed of what I struggle with. I'm going to feel proud of the things that I'm doing to like deal with those challenges, right? Because I work really hard. I work really hard to overcome that shit. Don't just focus on improving your weaknesses. Remember to celebrate your strengths. Yeah. Yeah, I talk about that too. the most successful people are the ones that focus on what they're good at. So I'm just going to say, like, I'm working on this to the point where I'm comfortable in, the little bit of mess that I make in the kitchen or whatever. It doesn't get out of control. I'm comfortable at the level that it's at, and I'm going to focus on what I'm good at. And what I'm good at isn't doing the dishes. It's not keeping my house clean. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at YouTube. I'm good at, creating community. I'm good at researching. I'm good at these things. Oh, these go for an hour? An hour or two, depending. This one probably won't go that long, probably another 20 minutes. So yeah, if I spend all my time trying to get better at stuff I'm not good at, then that's time that I'm not spending doing stuff I am good at and can actually make a difference in the world with, right? Like, if, I could spend a lot of time working on getting systems in place to make sure my house is always clean, but that's less content that I can put out on the channel. That's a workshop I can't say yes to, It's not worth it. It's not. And coming to a place of acceptance of like, okay, what is actually important to me to be good at? What am I good at? What can I lean into? And, what's getting in my way? Like, if there are things that are making it difficult for me to accomplish my goals or that are hurting the people around me, then yeah, that's worthy of attention. But, it's supposed to be an hour. Yeah, it's usually, typically the live streams are 2 hours, but I didn't have that many announcements today, and we're just kind of chatting and hanging out, so I'll probably do another 20 minutes. Time is difficult. Yeah. So yeah, that's my big thing right now is like just putting down the shame that, because even when I started the channel, there was shame. There was, I have to be better. How do I be better? How do I be better? And there was a lot of shame. And I did an episode about going off my meds, and I was really ashamed that I couldn't go off my meds and still be functional because I have all these strategies and I should be able to do it. You should. As they say, like, stop shooting all over yourself. I'm done with it. Like, I carried around so much shame for who I was for so long. And even when I started learning strategies, it was, how do I not be so me? How do I not be so bad at stuff I'm bad at, Yeah, if we don't talk about it, we can't change the stigma, and the stigma makes it hard. Yeah, vicious cycle. Ooh, big brothers, big sisters. That's exciting. Yeah, should is a very powerful word. Yeah. But you guys, like, the thing I hear from this community more than anything else is shame and stigma, is feeling bad for being who we are, instead of respecting the fact that we have some significant challenges and respecting the fact that we're doing a lot to work on those challenges. I don't think that you're deserving of less respect when you have more challenges. If anything, you're deserving of more respect for still getting through life with those challenges. Sorry for existing. Yeah. Oh man, that hits me. Yeah. Yeah, we all deserve love and respect. Right. And I didn't think that, like, on just a deep emotional level, I felt like, well, I deserve to be treated badly or without respect because I'm not respectable. Like, I am irresponsible and messy and all of these things. And so I don't deserve respect. I don't deserve to be treated with respect because I don't have my shit together, Like, people get respect when they are good at all these things that I'm not good at, How can I expect somebody to respect me when my car is so messy that if somebody wants a ride, I have to like be like, okay, and run ahead of them and like put a bunch of stuff in the back seat, And I think that, yeah, just for so long, my struggles made it so that I would let people treat me the way that I felt like I deserved to be treated, which is, like making jabs at me and putting me down and, just being treated badly because I didn't feel like I deserved better. Aw, Leaf lurks. You're still part of this family, whether or not you chat. Like, oh, you want to give me a hug? Thank you. Yeah, Ducky says, I think I took the jabs as my own, teased myself, and got over it. I did that to a certain extent. I would joke about my ADHD too, but I think that it still took a toll on my self-esteem. like even embracing it as like, oh yeah, ridiculous. Like, you know, I still get on my own case. Yeah. Oh, I wish I could be more active. Yeah, I still struggle with self-deprecation. Charles says, I take teases from my friends, but I shut out teases from people I don't respect. Negative humor, no matter how much Robo reminds me not to, is how I cope. Part of ADHD, still have weird social issues. Yeah, I was realizing that today. I'm so used to being in a domestic relationship that not being in one right now is difficult for me because I think on some level it's like a security blanket for me. You know, there was something really nice about having my ex around at social events because like he was big and entertaining and everybody loved him and I could be like, you know, safe there. And now I'm having to go out and like go to meetups and try and make friends and all of this stuff on my own. And I realized I haven't really had to do that in so long that I don't remember how, if I ever knew how, and I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so socially uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't understand how this whole friend things work. Yeah, I had an anchor. And now I feel like very untethered. And so I'm out there like so oh, you're not on your own though. I know. And that's nice. But like at these events, like I can't just, if I get anxious, I can't just like disappear into a book like I did when I was a kid. And I can't just like snuggle into, you know, my boyfriend or husband or whatever, like I used to be able to. I don't have a security blanket. And I'm having to face maybe for the first time, I am so uncomfortable with my peers because growing up, I was so socially awkward. Untethered for too many years, not sure how to approach other humanoids. Yeah. Randall says, I'm just now noticing how awkward I am around people. Felicia says, I do better when I have someone with me that is more lost than I am. Yeah. Oh, so that's a really interesting thing that we learned. I forget where we learned it. I think it was at the conference. Somebody was talking about how to help somebody who needs help. And the way to do it isn't to like go up to somebody who's struggling and be like, oh, do you need help? Like, how can I help you? It's to go up to them and ask for help. So like if, you know, if like there, I think you gave the example of like a military operation and like there was a soldier who was really stressed out about having to jump out of a plane or whatever. And so somebody just went up to him and was like, hey, can you help me get this thing, you know, on my pack or whatever? And the guy's like, oh, okay, yeah. Because if, you know, like it's a good way to pull somebody out of their own stuff to ask for help. Maybe bring somebody along. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anybody to bring along right now. I've kind of, like, I've found one friend in town that I kind of, like, tag along with. But, yeah, social issues. Ducky's like, I'm not that awkward. Your plus one is an accommodation. Kind of. Like, there was a time where all the talks that I went to for the channel, it was one of my stipulations that Edward gets to come. You know? Ducky's like, I'll be your plus one. You're in Canada. That's kind of hard. Come to the Bay Area, be my wing woman. I'd be such a good wing woman for you too, Scott. I'd be like laughing at all your jokes and like tell them how awesome you are. I really would. We should do that when I'm out there. Oh, that's another big thing that's going on is I'm gonna fly out to San Francisco November 1st, and on the 2nd there's gonna be an event there that's going to be live streamed. So I'll figure out how that works and give you guys the info for that. It's basically me just talking about you guys and how awesome you are, how awesome my community is. Felicia, we still need to meet for coffee. This needs to happen. That's happening. Oh, and then the CHAD conference is happening. Is anybody going to CHAD? Yeah. Who's going to CHAD? The 2019 International ADHD Conference in Philly. Michael, is that yes? Yes? You are going? Or who's going? Oh, yay, you've got the CHAD group lead. Okay, I have to check that out. So How to ADHD is teaming up with Liz Lewis from A Healthy Dose of Distraction. And we're basically making a cool hangout spot. And I have to email Ryder Carroll back, but I think we've got Ryder Carroll coming to teach people how to bullet journal, Writer Carroll, the guy who created the bullet journal system, is going to come teach people how to bullet journal. And Danny Donovan, who does all the cool ADHD webcomics, is going to come and teach people how to doodle. I am so excited about this. And Liz Lewis is going to teach people how to meal plan. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be so fun. And then we're going to have fidgets and pens and notebooks and like just create a kind of hangout spot where people can come and touch base and have like a home base basically, where you go to a panel or whatever, or you go to one of the talks, and then like you come back and you're like, hey, I learned this in this talk, and what did you learn in that talk? And you kind of swap information. This is my dream of what is going to happen. They're at Chad. They haven't ever done anything like this, so I don't think they really understood what I was going for. I had to like be on a bunch of conference calls over and over again, kind of trying to explain it to them. But I think they finally got it. I think I finally explained it in a way that they get it. So I think the space is going to be okay for that kind of thing. But if not, I mean, wherever they put us, we're going to make it work. It'll be cool. Super excited about that. All right. Does anybody have any questions or anything you guys want to talk about? Gotta follow Robo. Seriously, the Chad conference is so cool. It's so good. I can't even tell you how normalizing it is to be around that many people with ADHD in person. It's so cool. And the information is great. The speakers are great. Like, it's fantastic. How am I doing? Oh, that's really nice. I'm doing okay. It's hard. Right now I'm going through a lot of like the paperwork for the divorce. And it's tough. It's really tough. It's tough being this time of year, and instead of having the support of my partner, it's the other way, and like it's contentious and difficult, and it's hard. It's a little bit harder, makes it harder to focus. But I'm getting through it. Other than that, I'm just learning how to stand on my own 2 feet again. I'm learning how to, there was something that happened that was really empowering when I got this new place, which is I looked around and I realized everything here is mine. And honestly, what I'm doing is I'm rebuilding my identity right now, because I lost a lot of aspects of my identity when that went down. I was a wife and I owned a home, and it was a condo, but I owned a home, and I lived in LA, and all these things, like, and I went to this yoga studio, and I took my dog to this dog park, and like all of these things that were aspects of me were gone. And so trying to figure out who I am without those things, without those pieces of my identity, has been really challenging. And sometimes it feels like nothing makes sense, or sometimes I can see myself, like, if I'm not careful, I could slip back into depression. I did a video about grief a few months ago, and that was probably when it was at its worst. It's getting better now, but there's still sometimes when I go there, like, I thought I had my life figured out, and so to have to figure it all out again is hard. And also, like, I think that I got to a certain level of like security and understanding what was happening in my life, and like I had a stable enough base that I could do things like Charles, that's awesome. Who do I want to be? That's a good question. I'll answer that. I forgot what I was saying because I got distracted, but I had a point that I thought was important. Now I get to, I get to figure out who I am. Oh, that's what it was. I had a stable base, and from that base, I was doing things that were scary. I was doing a TEDx talk and putting out videos talking about my ADHD, and I was doing things that were outside my comfort zone all the time. Every time I had something figured out with the channel, there was a new challenge. Well, now we're starting Patreon. Now we're starting a Discord. Now we've got forums on the website. Now we're doing this. Now I'm doing a talk. Now I'm doing a keynote. Now I'm doing a workshop, right? There's all these things that keep putting me far outside my comfort zone. and I don't have the stability and the comfort to come home to. So it makes everything a little bit scarier. It makes it harder to do the work that I'm doing, not having that stable base, I guess. We got the Discord and the forums. Yeah. And that's honestly what's been helping, because I haven't been able to, like, I've had to cocoon a little bit more than usual. I'm not able to be on social media as much. I'm not able to be on the forums as much because I don't have, like it's not spoons, because that's used for, for like energy, I guess, but it's more like I have so many, I don't know, I have so many like outside my comfort zone points that I can use, and I'm using up so many of them that I can't go outside my comfort zone and be like, let me jump into this discussion with people I don't know yet on Discord or whatever. Like, oh, thank you. You guys have been so supportive. And the mods have been incredible. Like, everybody who helps out with the channel. Yeah, getting out of the military. Oh, having to like reorient, like, what is my life now? There's a little bit of that. Yeah. Like, it was so all encompassing, for those of you guys who weren't aware, like, Edward and I lived together and worked together. Like, we were around each other all the time. And so not having him or anyone around is so hard. It's so weird having to relearn how to exist in the world and not have that, I guess, protector in a way, Yeah, part of it's overstimulation. Part of it feels like homesickness. And I wonder if homesickness is just that feeling that we all get when we've extended too far outside of our comfort zone and we want to go back to things that are familiar. And one of the things, yeah, being alone is new. It can be scary. Yeah, it is. And it's challenging. It's challenging to go to places by myself and not have anybody familiar around to like lean on. And yeah, just have to do, there's just so much new. There's so much new. And so I'm having a little bit of a hard time with that, but it's getting better. And like, thank you guys for continuing to support me, because I feel like having that stability right now is really important. Like, having the financial stability is so helpful, because I know that that's something I don't have to worry about. So I can focus on all the other things that are scary right now. And I don't have to worry about, like, am I going to be able to pay my editors, pay my rent, and, pay my taxes. I don't have to worry about that because of you guys. So thank you. And, yeah, Ducky says, I don't know how to be alone. I'm not sure I know how to be alone. I'm working on it. Being alone means less interaction, so less validation and less negative feedback, both of which we crave and are used to. Yeah. 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 And just little things, like not being able to just go to somebody and be like, I had a hard day, and just like cuddle. Or, if my shoulders are hurt, or like if my shoulders are sore, like I can't just be like, hey, massage my shoulders. And like little things, like he used to be the one to lock up the house at night, and now I'm the one who has to do it, I want hugs, all of them. Do them if you need friends. I hate being alone too. Yeah. Stardew Valley, yeah. Takes practice being alone if you aren't used to it. That reminds me, I need to get a massage soon. Hugs are to best. Anyone want to cuddle? Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm just going to like walk down the street and be like, does anybody want a hug? But like legitimately, I am trying to make sure that I get human contact, because otherwise like I wouldn't. Because it's easy. I work from home. It'd be easy for me to just like hole up inside and never interact with another human being. Oh, I'll be right there for our flight. I do give good hugs. Free hugs t-shirt. That's awesome. Introverted, need alone time, yet hate being lonely. And that's really what it is. Like, I need a lot of alone time because I'm fairly introverted actually. And like whatever extrovert nature I have is like burned on, like talking to people and social media and stuff. Like my work is very social. And so, so I need like to cocoon, but I'm used to that cocooning happening with somebody else. And the fact that that isn't happening anymore is difficult because that I think is part of what would recharge me. So, extrovert, hate alone time, needs recharging. Stay at home for days at a time, Lexa points to self. Being alone is how I recharge. Yeah, I'm used to recharging like in the presence of one person that I trust. And so I don't even have like the comfort of like friends that I've known for a long time in the area because I was like, let me move to Rochester. And so I've got new friends, but they're not comforting yet. Like I don't feel relaxed around them yet. That's still stuff that's outside my comfort zone. Big groups are hard for me. Yeah, me too. Like I'm better one-on-one, but don't tell. I'm only 4 hours away by car and a border. Oh, garbage plates are comforting. They are comforting. Weighted blanket. I keep trying to do the weighted blanket thing, and like my restless legs, it bothers them. Like I get this like get it off. It's too heavy. Really, really waist expanding. Yeah. Do you guys know what garbage plates are? It's a Rochester thing. Yeah. Get a shorter weighted blanket, maybe, and or like just put it around my. Yeah, I want to escape. Yeah, I get that. Felicia says I love my weighted blanket. Yeah, sometimes weighted blankets are comforting for a lot of people with sensory issues, especially. Shoot, there's a lot of people that are close. Okay, garbage plates, right? So garbage plates are something that was started in Rochester. It's a Rochester thing. It's basically like what you eat at the end of the night when you're like drunk. That's supposed to absorb all the alcohol. It's super fatty. It's traditionally let me see if I get it right. It's mac salad, potatoes like of some sort, like potato wedges or something, burger or a hot dog, and like some sort of meat sauce. It's basically like whatever's left over at the end of the night. They just throw it in a styrofoam container and call it a garbage plate, stick a plastic fork in it, and you just like eat it. It actually is really good. And everybody's got their take on it. Oh, Felicia says I'll scrunch mine up sometimes so my legs aren't weighed down. I should actually try that. I am trying to, make an effort to get human contact, including like there's a Chinese foot massage place down the street from me. So like I'll go and do that and be like, somebody just touch me for an hour. Canada, did you have poutine? I did. It was so good. It was delicious. I got like fancy one. It was like Korean barbecue poutine or something. Oh, I had so much maple stuff. Everything was maple. I had a burger with maple syrup on it, and then crepes with maple syrup, and then I had pancakes, which of course had maple syrup. I had so much maple syrup in Canada. I'll help with that human contact. Okay, what I'm learning is we need to do a meetup. we need to do a meetup around here. So thanks for asking how I was doing. That was really nice to be able to share that with you guys. I felt a little disconnected from my community sometimes because I'm not able, I don't have as much social energy as I used to. Send me the city. Rochester. Yeah. Scott says we got you. Thank you for everybody who's like jumped in and kept the channel going when I'm like MIA. Come to Australia. Mark, I am going to come to Australia someday, and it is because of you. Like, when I come to Australia, I'll be like, Mark asked me like 15 times, so I'm here. Meet up in January. New York, yeah, Rochester, New York. Europe is halfway. Awesome. What's a video idea? Melbourne. Okay, I'll come to Melbourne. I've been to the other one. I know that there are more than 2 cities in Australia, but the other, Sydney. I've been to Sydney. Are you a fan of Wegmans? It's so good. Why are we going to New York in January? To cuddle me. No, I'll be all right. Some of the community make a vid and you can upload them. Yeah, I am thinking about that. I'm thinking about maybe doing that for Thanksgiving and calling it Heartsgiving and having having brains talk about things that the hearts in their life have done to support them. What do you guys think about that? Malin, if you get out here for the cuddles, I will cuddle you so hard. You're in? Yeah? I think it'd be really cool because it would both be like educational for people to understand how to support their person with ADHD and also just a nice thank you. Like, I know that, my ADHD presents challenges in my relationships with people. I want to appreciate the people who are super cool and understanding about it or whatever. Validate me. Wait, Marauder, what did you say that I'm validating? Yeah, you guys like it? Okay. I think I'll do that. I think that sounds really nice. And I'll just tell people like keep the videos, keep your sentences short if you can. Like that way I can include a lot of people. Hearts. Oh yeah. Yeah, because the interview that I did with Ari Tuckman, which by the way I'm super excited about because it's about ADHD and sex and relationships, and he's done a bunch of research on it. He's incredible. Are there going to be cards? I think so. So I think we'll also do cards where it's like you can send this video to your heart, but also there will be cards that you can write to the hearts in your life. What if everyone close to me is a brain? Okay, so here's the thing. Even though like it's brain or heart or whatever, I'm still gonna say if you have a close person in your life that even if they have ADHD, if you also have ADHD, they're still acting as a heart to you in some ways. They're still being understanding of you. You need to take off? Okay. How am I supposed to keep it short? There's a trick where like you say what you want to say and then you say it again but shorter. And that way I can use whichever version. And usually once we get out what we want to say, we're able to summarize it. I'm really good at knowing when to stop. Yeah. Keep the sentences short. So yeah, you can do like a 10-minute video and I'll pull the clips or whatever. But if the sentences themselves are short, so like if we do, if I start telling you the things I appreciate about you and then I start giving you context and then I go on a tangent or whatever, that's harder to edit in. Whereas if you're like, you figure out what you want to say and then you say it again but shorter, then I can always like hear the full thing and then I can just grab the piece that's shorter and put it in. We were doing videos. Yeah, that was, okay, Ducky's missed something. So the idea is we're going to do something called Hearts Giving for the channel where we have hearts, which, we have brains talk about the things that the people in their life have done to support them and thank them for it. So like I'm thankful for the people who are understanding when I'm late to coffee, or I'm thankful for the fact that that my partner is learning about my ADHD with me so that they understand what I'm going through and can appreciate the effort I'm putting in or whatever it is. This community is all my hearts. Aww. So the idea is that it would make the people who are, make the hearts feel good about what, about being appreciated and also like help hearts understand what their ADHD brains appreciate about their help. Because as somebody who was also in a relationship with somebody with ADHD, I tried really hard to support him, but I didn't always know what was helpful and what was like not appreciated. And I think that a lot of people in a relationship with somebody with ADHD want to help, want to support, but they don't really know how or like what is actually going to help or be appreciated or be effective. Brains work well under time pressures, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to put something about that up at some point. I forget. It's on the calendar. But yeah, I'm glad you guys like that idea. I thought it would be really cool. And also just be a subtle, like, this is what's actually helpful for the people who, like, I don't know, are overbearing or try to parent us or whatever. When is Thanksgiving for you people? End of November. My rest days went well. Thank you. Like one day, I picked Chloe up from her doggy daycare thing after I got back from Canada, and she was exhausted and I was exhausted. So the whole next day we were just like on the couch snuggling. It was the best. Yeah, fourth Thursday in November. Rest? Yeah. Oh God, I was so burnt out, weren't you? Norwegians don't do Thanksgiving. They've just adopted Black Friday. That's funny. So yeah, it's unfortunately very U.S. centric, but maybe I can say, in the U.S. we've got this tradition of Thanksgiving where we celebrate, the people, whatever. Whether you're from the U.S. or not, like, would love for you to say what you're thankful for about the people in your life that support you. Specific things they do that mean a lot to you that maybe you haven't thought to tell them. Heartsgiving. Oh yeah, we could just make it a new day. Call it Heartsgiving. Fourth Friday of November. Huh. We could just make up a day. Should I make up a day or should we do it on Thanksgiving? Make up a day? Different day. Okay. What day should it be? Any ideas? Yeah, we're making a new holiday. Why not? Brains hugging is the new Thanksgiving. Should be a Wednesday. Week before Thanksgiving. Actually, what I will do is I will talk to my editors tomorrow. What I will do is talk to my editors and see when works for them. Because if I change that on them, if I change the production schedule on them, that might mess things up. So we'll figure it out. All right. I am going to go and eat because I forgot to do that for a little bit. I love you all. We should have an ADHD holiday every month. Yeah, when works for you, Gary? We'll talk about it not live. You guys are awesome. I'm going to jump in while I'm making food. I'll jump into the Discord brain board. Thanksgiving, otherwise between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay. Gary's like, I'm not in charge of the schedule, so I will talk to Palestrina. She will be, it will be up to her. All right. Bye, guys. Yeah, I'm going to go eat. Self-care is important. All right, I don't know how to turn this off. Okay, bye.